Everyone wants happiness and success, and we know how to get you there. Come listen to the Leadership Society of Arizona as we teach a proven logic to help you simplify life, overcome challenges, and predict the future. You're listening to the Logic and Life Coaching Podcast. Welcome to the Logic and Life Coaching Podcast. My name is Chuck Zulanas, and I'm joined by our special guest, Dr. Jacob Kashiwagi, who in short order is going to become a principal of sorts. Let's have Dr. Jacob tell us about his latest venture.
Our latest venture, Chuck, is after the year of 2022, looking at post-COVID, we're starting to realize that children are just being expected to do a ton right now. They're expected to learn more at a younger age. They're expected to know what they're going to do at a younger age for the rest of their life. They're expected to mature much quicker. They're expected to understand how to utilize advanced technology at a younger age now, and it's requiring a lot out of them. And so we're starting to realize that students, even if they're very high achieving students, especially them, they need a lot more support. And so we're trying to figure out how we can help students more and have more of an impact in terms of their lives and helping them develop. And it's because of this reason that LSA decided that we're going to expend the resources to actually make a private school and to start a private middle school from 6th to 8th grade. And so LSA is using our own funds to do this. One of the main reasons is we don't want anyone telling us what to do or how to run the school. So it's much tougher to run a private school, especially one that we're not planning to grow very big. This first year, we're only planning to take in around 35 students. And even when we get this moving, we don't want any more than 150 students ever. And so we want to keep it small, which is tougher to make it sustainable. But because of our staff and because of everything we do, we can utilize efficiencies to make it happen. And so in the fall of 2023, we're going to be starting a middle school.
That is exciting. Very exciting. I know that you've been dreaming about this for a while, and I had talked to you about this maybe a year or two ago, and you were like thinking about it, planning it, and so it's really exciting to see it come to fruition and have your own building, and it'll be really cool. So what is it that you're going to be teaching these students, and how's the curriculum a little different than normal?
Well, you need to understand, according to our philosophy, we're trying to allow people to develop naturally on their own. So the first thing that will be unique about the school is we stripped away as much as we could of traditional rules that have to be put on people in order for them to develop. So for example, traditionally when students come together, someone decided a long time ago that only people the same age can learn together. So we got different grade levels. That's like a artificially made thing that's not necessarily the best way to do things. It's just a restriction that we put on. And so in this school, grades are eliminated. All students will learn together, whether in 6th or 8th grade, they all can learn together. They all can hang out together. They all can be able to develop together and be able to be friends together. The other thing is grades. Identifying, hey, you do better in something and you do worse. But in reality, it's not the purpose of education. The purpose of education is to help people to learn to be productive and happy citizens in life. And so we're taking away all the grades. The only grade we have left is A. The only grade a student can get on an assignment is an A.
That seems like a dream.
And then we're trying to make it as free of an environment. So we minimize lecturing we eliminate 75% of all lecturing. And the lecturing that we do have is optional. If a student is really smart, they can learn everything on their own. So what we're trying to do is create an environment where everybody comes, everybody has total freedom. And how this is all going to work, how can you give students all this freedom without everything going crazy? Well, we do have a very well-designed curriculum. And so there's some key aspects of our curriculum. First aspect is we're utilizing the best experts in the world to be able to teach students their curriculum. Meaning with the internet, with videos that are free virtually, some of them we have to pay for, but virtually most of them are even free, you can access the people in the world that know how to teach subjects the best. So now we have a curriculum made by the people who understand how to teach students the best in the world. And it's a self-learning curriculum. So students can access any part of this curriculum at any time, whenever they want. 2 is the curriculum is at their own pace. So it's not you have to learn this at these times. As a student goes through, they're going through 6th grade. If the student is smart enough to go through 6th grade math, 7th grade math, algebra, calculus, they can go through the whole thing in 1 year if they wanted. We're not going to hold students back as long as we can test them according to regular standards and they know the material. We'll let them move along and let them go as quickly or as slowly as they want. So now students can feel comfortable in every subject and going at their own paces. And the third thing to making this work is we're going to have a lot of instructors. So now you have 35 students who are being taught by 5 PhDs accessing the greatest minds in the world, having a curriculum that students can do on their own, but then you got 5 PhDs there to help mentor them every step of the way. Not only do you have 5 PhDs, but you got another staff of between 5 to 8 other students or interns and semi or co-instructors that are college students, that are industry professionals, that will be there every day to help students in whatever they need to learn. And so now what we got is we got this curriculum that is very open and free. It's the best you can get out there, and it teaches things the quickest you possibly can teach it. It's very efficient. So now these students can come and learn every day, and where it would take them 6 hours in class to learn, they can now learn the same amount of information half the time. And they'll learn it better. So now we're thinking, well, what are you going to do with the rest of the time? So now the rest of the time, we're focusing on team activities, on helping them socialize amongst each other, that these 35 students will be the best of friends. They'll learn how to get along with each other, they'll learn how to do things together, they'll have fun together, they'll have a lot of free time together. It'll be a very relaxed because they don't have to worry about their grades. Plus they get to intermingle with a lot of very experienced professionals and PhDs every single day. So they'll learn how to actually interact in a more professional environment as well. And we'll take them on a lot of field trips, go actually see the world. And this is really what you want your students to do, is get out there and actually see things and do things. And so because there's so few, we can actually ship all the students anywhere we want in the valley. We can go visit places, we can help and let them see things hands-on and learn, which is really what we want them to do. And that's kind of what we're doing. One thing to learn from what we're doing is that even though we're totally reshaping how education is done, and now the focus now becomes when a student comes in, we have all the material. But when they're in 6th grade, and they're used to someone telling them what to do every day. Now they're going to come in and say, okay, what should I do? And I'm going to ask them, well, what do you think you should do? And of course, if you leave them to themselves, they'll just play video games all day. Because it's too hard for them to fathom, okay, well, I got 4 subjects. This is what I got to do in every subject. But the main focus now will be that someone will sit down with these students and ask them, what are you going to do today? And then help them through the process of figuring out how to structure their week, how to structure their day, how to figure out what to focus on, what to not focus on, how much time things should be taking, and how to measure that so that they can eventually, by the time they get to high school, they pick it up, they know exactly what to do by themselves.
Okay, thank you for that introduction to the program. And I have some questions, of course, about this sort of structure, as I'm sure many viewers would have some questions. So first question I have, so you have 35 students, they can pick how they choose their time. Why don't they just do video games? They say, oh, well, I don't want to work on homework. I just want to do video games.
Well,
how are you going to manage that?
Look, I've been dealing with college students and high school students for over 20-something years now. When I have individually worked with a student, I've never had a student, in the thousands of students I've dealt with, I've never had a student say, all I want to do is play video games all day. Never. The reason why they're playing video games all day is they don't know what to do, and they don't know how to do it within their capability. And this is why you can't just have someone do an online course that's young. You need someone there to mentor them, to help them out. And you will find that there might be 1% to 2% that just say, I don't want to do anything. Just want to play video games. And normally we would be accepting of that. But only if their parents are accepting of that. If their parents have higher expectations, but the student is really good at video games and could make millions of dollars playing video games, but the parents don't want that, well, then we're going to have to tell the parents they don't belong in our school. See, one of the great things about being able to own your own school is that you can let in the people you want. And we've made the school that even though this is made for people who actually can pay for it, because it costs a lot of money to have 5 PhDs teaching 35 students, and then having an additional support staff of 8 other instructors. It takes an incredible amount of money to do this. But we have made it, and we work the finances so that we can let in anybody. You don't just have to be from a wealthy environment that can pay for the school outright. You can come from an underprivileged environment, and we'll still let you in. With scholarships and with other funding, we're not going to limit this only to wealthy students. If we find a student who really wants to excel, who's really good, wants to try to figure things out, we will let them in no matter where they're coming from. And so that's the first thing to realize is we're willing to deal with everyone. We're not going to restrict anyone from coming in, but it has to be a win for us, and it has to be a win for the parents and the child. So if it's not a win for anyone, the groups will tell them you should go somewhere else. It's not for you.
Okay. So you're saying most likely the kid, even if they've been playing a lot of video games, likely not going to, when they're there in that environment, they're going to be open to learning and having this self-instructed type mechanism or curriculum where they kind of take this guided course. Now, are all 35 of them going to be doing something different with their day?
It could be very potentially that they could be doing something different. There are very few times, like I said, that we're going to gather all of them. They all have to listen to a lecture. And if that's ever the case, it's going to be a short lecture that's very simple and easy to understand about something that applies to everybody. But there will be many students who they will be on the same levels, like they'll be learning together. And those students will have many lessons from maybe an instructor to help them learn a specific skill. Like there might be, like maybe 10 students who they all need to learn how to solve for, a variable using simultaneous equations or something like that. And in that case, every student who needs, to be briefed on it or reminded of it, they can all be in a small room with this instructor that will walk them through it and make sure they all understand it.
Gotcha. So now to the point of like the tests, right? Like how's that testing going to work? Like you have minimum requirements from the state, right? You're saying one kid should go through everything.
We have no requirement from the state, but what we did was we took all the state standards and everything they have to learn in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. We broke it out and we put it on a timeline with like little, dots for every major thing they have to learn in every single subject. So we got a map for math, we got a map for history, we got a map for everything. So parents know we don't require anything, but this is what a child usually should learn if you want them to keep up with everybody else in the state. And then with testing, we're going to know if they're really good at it because we're going to test them with standard tests. But they can take the test as many times as they want. We'll change the numbers on them, but I don't care how many times they take the test as long as they figure out how to do it. So we'll change numbers on them. We'll make sure it's just not memorizing, and we'll mix up the questions and whatnot. But they can take the test as many times because for me, it's the last time they need to pass. They need to do really well the last time. That's all I care about. I'm not trying to trick these kids. I don't know who thought of, hey, we need to be tricky with these tests and make it really difficult. So we teach them one thing in class and then we change the test up a little bit so that it tricks them. I don't know who thought of that, but that's not cool. Right? Because all we're trying to do is make sure the student learns the basic things that they need to learn to survive. And so this is something we did learn, is even though we're going to be different, we're going to make sure that our different prepares the student better for the traditional, even better than the traditional prepares them for the traditional. What does this mean? It means even though they're coming to our very innovative school and they're going to have total freedom, if at the end of 8th grade, they want to go to a very high-performing traditional high school, that they're going to do better than even students coming from the traditional side of schools. And so how are we going to do this is we're going to test them with traditional tests. They're going to be tested with pre-ACT exams. They're going to be tested with exams that are similar to state standardized tests. They're going to be tested with AP type material so that when they get out of our school, we know if they went into like AP classes, if they wanted to go to a high performing school and they have to score high on standardized tests, that even going through our curriculum, we're going to know that they can really do that well. Plus, with our school and how we do things, wherever they go, they're going to have an all A record. Because the only grade you can get in our school is an A. And a lot of people will say, well, that's kind of cheating, but it's not cheating if we know our students can perform just as good as any of the best students over in a traditional high school or middle school. So they deserve the A.
So I see the cheating respect and I see your point. I think if you take the time to allow them to really ace the material, then of course they deserve an A. And you're giving them the time to make sure that they do. So that's really unique, right? So I guess another question I have is, let's say you're a student that hasn't been performing well in school and you're pretty far behind. You're coming into this school and you're like, well, I don't have a lot of these skills that maybe some other people have. How are you going to deal with someone that has that sort of background?
So you're saying if a student comes into our school that isn't up to par yet, they don't have the knowledge of a normal sixth grader?
That's correct.
How are we going to deal with that?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. Because we don't expect anything out of any student, they come in, we test them with a standardized test to see where they're at. When we find out where they're at, we just let the parents know. And when any student comes into our school, we're going to test them. The parents are going to know exactly where they're at. And here's the thing, because it's our school and it's our curriculum, we can determine if they can skip. So if they're way advanced, we can let the parents know, look, this is the map, everything they have to learn from 6th to 8th grade. Your child's coming in at 6th grade, but they actually could be in 7th grade already in most subjects. So we'll let them skip into it. Same thing with underperforming students. Is if they come in not even knowing the basics, well, that's perfectly fine in our school. But the parents will know that ahead of time, and we can map out for the parents, look, this is how far behind your child is. But they can make it up this quickly. And if they work really hard, they can make up all of that and go, even beyond. But we want to make sure they get the basics. So we can actually give children more time to be able to learn the basics, and we can teach them it quicker than any other school can anyways. So when they come in, we can get them up to speed, make sure they understand the basics, so when they move on, it will be really easy for them. That's the value of having everyone be able to learn individually, but being able to learn together. That we have that flexibility.
Okay, so now my question is, what can I gain? So I can see that you're managing your school this way. Now, of course, you're doing it based off of certain principles. And so what are some of these principles that I can take? And because I'm a parent of 2 kids, in my interactions with others and in my work and in interacting with my kids.
The first thing is the traditional technical information, everything that people usually think, oh, children have to learn, they have to develop, they have to do this, they got to do that. And because of that, we have to be really structured with them. That might not necessarily be the case. The more freedom you can give your children, the more freedom you can give individuals to learn and develop on their own, to be able to figure out what they love and to be able to spend time on that, the better it is for the child to develop. Everyone's going to have a different type of talent, a different type of view on life. And the more freedom they're given, the better it is. That's the first thing. 2, second thing is, whenever you're doing something that isn't normal, that is progressive, or it's not what everybody else is doing, it's okay to do it. But you have to know how to still compete with the minimum standards of everyone else. So for example, in our school, social skills, developing how to work in teams, being able to learn on your own and know what to do without being told, those are the main things that we want to develop in a child. Because if they know how to learn on their own and they're very quick at learning, if they know how to deal with people and they know how to deal with people, work in teams, and socialize, if they know these 3 things, they can go anywhere and they will develop faster than anyone, right? So those are the three main things. But even though these are our three main focuses, we realize that the rest of the world, how it works, how parents look at it, they might want to go to high-performing high school because they want to go to an Ivy League school. And in order to do that, they're going to need high grades. They're going to need to understand all of the technical information, math, English, history, all sciences, right? They're going to have to be developed in all those areas. So even though we're innovative and we focus on this, we still have made a structure that allows them to compete with the best of anybody. So even if you're going to do something innovative with your family, you still have to take care of the basics. You got to allow and prepare, your kids for life and to deal with in a normal society. And so, even though you might have a lot of freedom, you have to have enough vision to prepare your kids for what they're going to face in the world. You have to let them interact with the world. You have to let them get that experience as well. I think the third thing you can also learn from the school is that learning is not synonymous with stress and not having fun. One of the big issues with students not wanting to learn is it's not fun. Why is it not fun? Because they're stressed about their grades, because they got to do too much homework at night, because when they go to school it's so boring, right? So hopefully with this flexible structure and because of how we do it, and all of our other programs have been like this, that when students come into our programs, they have so much fun, it's not a worry about learning. They love to learn because they find it can be fun and they don't have to stress about it. And it doesn't have to be something that is like, gives them a headache, right? And consumes their entire life. So in this school, there's going to be no homework. If you come every day of school, you'll never have to have homework. Now, isn't that crazy? Plus, half the day in school, they're going to be having fun, right? So that is something you can learn in the house and the family and everything you do in work. That learning and performing at a high level, it does not have to be stressful. It does not have to be not fun. It can be fun. You can enjoy it. It can be something that's really great, even though it's learning.
Well, that is a good lesson to learn. Thank you for those takeaways. And thank you for telling me a little bit more about your school. I'm really excited to see how it turns out and what the kids think. I'm sure they're gonna love it, and I'm sure even the parents will love it. I mean, all the other programs you've done have been that way anyways. So
we are really excited about it too, and we're excited to document all of it. I'm a researcher at heart, remember. I'm not a business person, I'm not an educator, I'm a researcher at heart. And so part of doing this is to document it and show exactly what the impact will be. Not only on how quickly a student can learn, but just the changing their whole attitude on life and the changes that will happen personally for each student. We have found that the more time we have to interact with students, the better outlook they have in life, the more responsible they become, the more loving they become, the more service-oriented they start to be, and to be able to see those changes in families, and probably in students that families never thought could perform well, right? We're excited to see that.
It's going to be exciting. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jacob, and thank you listeners for listening and viewers for watching. Have a good rest of your day.